So imagine if you're a happy little fish called Barry, happily swimming through the ocean when, bam, you run straight into a clear plastic bag. Wow, you ask yourself, where did this actually come from? So the sad reality is the ocean is awash with plastic. We know by 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. So our hypothesis that we needed to confirm was whether people actually cared about the environmental damage incurred through this process. We needed to confirm whether people had that level of apathy towards the different sustainable practices and whether we would be able to challenge that through increasing the care factor. Through a survey of 38 individuals within our target market, we identified that their apathy is indeed a very overwhelming feature. We identified that people don't really enjoy the moralising aspects and the preaching aspects of sustainable education. Furthermore, we identified that people were incentivised by the rewards-based systems, and there were the comparative and competitive pressures that motivated them to adopt broader social actions. So our solution is to come up with an app with a purpose called Ocean Wash. Ocean Wash essentially involves a fish or another character swimming through an ocean, coming across obstacles such as plastics. These plastics are designed to hurt the fish so that the health bar actually lowers. There is an incentivized and rewarding system through the points that you can accrue through swimming through different levels, and these points themselves are intended to reflect wider practices such as engaging in containers that are recyclable, or perhaps from bringing keep cups to university. These levels actually become progressively more difficult with time, and this is in accordance with the best practices of the most addictive technologies in the smartphones games which exist in this current market. So in terms of our business model, we propose to adopt a freemium business model. This is driven by wider market trends such as the actual rate of compound annual growth, which we've adopted as a conservative position of 6.1% each annum in Australia. We also know that educational and venture games generally record a user retention rate of 5.2%. We also know that the mobile phone game industry is worth $35.8 billion each year. $118 million of that is from Australia. So what functionalities would we bring? The reason why Ocean Wash is seen as effective is because, one, it employs the gamification theories. There is a virtual reminder every time someone opens the app and sees these plastic objects. This functions as a subtle and overt nudge, reminding people of the wider economic, social, and environmental reality in which they occupy. Secondly, there are also various functions which were built along the way. This is seen as a subtle threading of educational opportunities. Having these how functions implemented through augmented reality allows people to see how exactly they can actually break down recyclable objects and how exactly they can participate in behaviours which are ultimately better for the environment. The third function is that we actually enable people to capture information about their own practices. We enable this self-input data, which can then be fed back into the system, allowing people to see what are the broader trends throughout practices over time. So in terms of the implementation, we envision that the piloting will occur at UNSW. This is based on our target market, which is people from 6 years old to 28 years old. We imagine that there's a penetration of about 20%, which is in accordance to different theories. And we imagine that there'll be people over time who would engage in these products through successful marketing strategies. So after piloting at UNSW, we envision to expand towards Sydney, we envision expanding past Australia, we envision expanding into the key markets of North America, China, and Japan. Our initial plan is to go through a 20-week sprint in which this occurs, and this is backed up by the different technical skills of the founding team. So in conclusion, Ocean Wash functions as an app. We are using the power of play to draw away from the pool of plastic. Thank you. We would now like to open up the floor to questions.
Thank you. How many users are you expecting in 2019? And how much does this cost money, the app? Is there a cost to it? It's
Okay, so we were expecting to get like a roughly 200 to 400 users at the beginning. We are planning to hire, like, between labor costs and salaries, we will be spending roughly between 9,200K in the first year, which is the equivalent to hire a software engineer full-time. The idea is to build an application in an agile manner, so you can like manage extensions and you can manage features along the way. So we will initially build a single-player application, a single-player game, and then later on we will extend throughout the weeks with including image recognition application in virtual reality augmentation features. Yeah.
what's going to keep the user engaged?
So like we acknowledged before, a lot of the smartphone games that currently exist occupy an addictive reality. So the actual user is motivated through obtaining rewards. These rewards can then eventually be redeemed for various structures, and there is also the competitive function, which allows people to compare themselves against their peers, using things such as leadership board, which have proved to be so effective through current technologies. There is also the increasing difficulty of the game, which means that there are certain features such as increasing the speed at which Barry swims, things such as increasing different plastics. So for example, you might progress to the next level and you might encounter relevant information about plastic glad wrap. Plastic glad wrap would then be confused with, for example, jellyfish, and this is how you differentiate between the different things, and this provides the constant challenge which keeps people really motivated.
Thank you. It sounds much better than fishdom.
Yeah, you also have like the multiplayer functionality where you can actually interact with other users, and you can kind of like Mario Kart, so someone else can also join the game. And we mainly seek to promote like community awareness through this, so we can like maybe in the future decouple from the technology factor that is influencing the consumption behavior. So that's one of our main drivers for the future. Yep.
So actually that was going to be my question, that you've got all of this around gamification. To me, the concern would be, how do you connect that sort of, fun game into real world action where
exactly, because we have seen these days that it's very easy to implement new products and develop new technologies. But what happens is that like we develop new technologies, but then our consumption also goes up. Like look at the cars, like we are making cars that are lighter, they're more efficient as well, but then that also increases like our consuming behavior. So like what we're trying to tackle here is to actually create like community awareness and reduce the consumption behavior in terms of like plastics.